Hi, my name is Tom Mavro and welcome to the Cut It TV training channel. The channel has been set up to provide easy to follow training tutorials in today's key media production software. Cut It itself is a UK based training company with over 15 years experience providing hands-on training in media production. If you would like any further information about our training services, please visit our website at www.cut-it.tv or check us out on social media. I hope you enjoy the following tutorial. In this next tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to create a title or basic caption in Adobe Premiere. To create a title, you first of all have to create a new title item as part of your Adobe Premiere project, and you can do this in a few different ways. First of all, we can go up to the File menu, go to New, and there is a new title item on that menu, or we can use the keyboard shortcut, which is Command-T on a Mac or Control-T on a PC. Alternatively, I can do a right click in a blank part of my project window. I get a new item option there, and I can pick title from that one. Alternatively, I can do a right click in my project window, go to new item and choose title from there. Or there is a new item button at the bottom right hand corner of the project window. If I click on there, there's a title option there as well. Once I've selected a new title, it opens up a new title window where I can name my title. And if I want to, I can set up a bespoke frame size, frame rate, and pixel shape for the title itself. By default, the title's frame size, frame rate, and pixel aspect ratio is picked up from your sequence settings from the currently active sequence in your project. I'm going to click OK on there. That then opens up the title editor. First of all, we have a few different panels around the title editor itself, and there is a canvas area here. It displays a background frame which can be turned on and off using this button here. And the background frame it displays is dictated by the position of your playhead on the timeline. So if you haven't got your playhead over a suitable area of the sequence, just simply move it on the timeline and it will update the background preview frame. The title itself though gets created on a transparent background, so this is literally just there as a reference. In the top left hand panel we have some tools. So we have a move and rotate tool, horizontal and vertical type tool, a couple of type area tools for horizontal and vertical type where you can draw an area and then type into that area, and a couple of path tools where we can draw a squiggly line, for example, and type text along the path of that line. There's some freehand drawing tools here with the pen tools, some shape tools, and a line tool. A little bit further down we have the alignment and distribution options. So if you have, say, 2 or 3 items as part of your title, you can select them, you can align their edges, centers, and so on. You can align them within the frame itself, both horizontal center and vertical center, and you can distribute the items across the screen as well. We have some title styles down here which give you some preset title styles that you can use for a starting point for your title if you so wish. We have a formatting bar at the top here where you can do some basic text formatting. So for example, you can pick a font, style, alignment, and most importantly, in the top right hand corner we have this title properties area here, and this will give you the full set of formatting options for whatever it is you have selected, whether it's a text item or whether it's a shape, for example. The canvas area here is where you lay out and design your title. And as you can see, that we have title safe guides turned on here. If you're doing anything for broadcast television, it's very important that you create the text within your title or any logos or anything like that within this central title safe area here. Okay, let's look at actually designing a basic lower third. So I've got my horizontal text tool selected here. I'm going to click just inside the title safe area and type in. So let's put my name in and let's put a title in. So to amend the text within a title, you can click and drag over the text itself and highlight it as you would in, say, any word processing package. To select a whole word, you can double click on it. And if I want to format all the text in one go, the easiest way of doing this is to switch back to the arrow tool. By doing this, I can pick the title up, move it around as if it was a graphic. I can also nudge the title by a pixel at a time, up, down, left or right, by using my arrow keys on my keyboard. If I hold shift down at the same time, it will do 5 frames at a time. And most importantly, any formatting I now do will affect the entire text. So let's look at changing the font. Now there's 2 places I can do this. I can do this up here in the formatting bar, pick the font from there, or I can go over to the title properties area, and again I've got my full set of installed fonts available from this menu. I can pick a font by clicking on it on the menu, or I can type in the name of the font and that will then pick that font up. In fact, I'm going to go for Helvetica New, and let's go for medium as a format. Okay, to update individual bits of text, you need to select them with the type tool again. So I'm going to select my name there. Let's change my name to bold. Let's also select my subtitle and bring the font size down a bit by adjusting the font size here. Now I can do that by either dragging over the value with my mouse, this little hand symbol present, that moves the value up or down, or I can click in there and I can actually physically type in an amount. Let's go back to selecting the whole thing as a graphic again. There are a number of text formatting options here. So leading is the space between lines, kerning or tracking the space between letters, baseline shift moves the text up or down, slant will slant the text. I can turn caps on or off, and I can dictate the size of my small caps. I can underline and so on. In terms of changing the colour of the text, I have some fill options here. So let's go in and change the colour of the subtitle there. I can literally select that, click on this little colour swatch here. That will open up my colour picker. I can pick the hue of the colour by dragging the slider up and down in the middle of the colour picker. I pick the actual colour by clicking in the big square here. I have black at the top, grayscale down the left hand side, white in the bottom left hand corner. As we move to the right, the picked hue becomes more saturated. So let's pick a red colour there, click OK, and you can see that updates the text. There are a number of additional formatting options, so I can add a glow or a sheen to my title, I can add a texture to my title. I have the ability to add outlines. In fact, let's add an outline. So I'm going to click on outer strokes here, and that will just add a little outline around the text, and let's make that a little bit thicker. And that will just help lift the text where it's over a brighter background. There's options to turn drop shadows on and off. And if I wanted a solid background to my title, if I tick the background option there, that puts in a solid full screen background for my title. I don't actually want that, so I'm going to turn that off again. Next, I'm going to create a background bar for my title. So I'm going to use a shape tool here. Let's go for the rectangle tool and drag a rectangle out over part of the screen. When you create a new item in Adobe Premiere, it usually takes on the formatting of the previous thing that you've done. So you can see, because I had some white text with a black border, I've ended up with a white rectangle with a black border. I'm going to select it with the arrow tool again, and we're going to first of all take off the outline. So back up to outer strokes again, and this time I'm going to choose delete. I'll just take that off. Let's add a slight gradient fill to our rectangle. So like with the text options, there are fill options up here for the shape itself. And I have, by clicking on this little menu here, a few different options. So I can pick a 2-color linear gradient or a circular radial gradient. I've got a 4-color gradient. I've got some bevel options, eliminate and ghost, knock out the center of the rectangle and make it transparent. Let's go to linear gradient. That gives me this gradient bar here, which has 2 color stops on it. This one is currently selected on the left. If I then change the color under here, it will update the gradient. So let's click on there, and we'll maybe go for blue, and we'll go for a dark blue color. And let's click on the other color stop now to select that, and let's maybe go for a similar blue, but a lighter variation of it. I can amend the gradient by dragging the little colour stops further apart or closer together, and that affects the spread and the proportion of one colour within the gradient. And then there's additional options for changing the angle of the gradient, repeating the gradient, so on. Let's just undo both of those though. There we go. So I've got a basic gradient there. What I think I will do though is reverse the gradient, so I'm going to change the angle to 180 degrees, and that will just flip the colours in the gradient. Let's make the rectangle semi-transparent as well. So if I come right back up to the top of the title properties, here's an opacity option. I'm going to bring that down to about 70%. That'll make the rectangle semi-transparent. and I also need to push the rectangle back so it sits behind the text itself. To do this, you right click on the item that you want to change the order of in the canvas area and choose arrange, and then you can send it backwards, send it to the back, or bring it forwards. So I'm going to go send to back. That pushes it behind the text itself. In terms of aligning the text and the rectangle, I've got the rectangle currently selected, so if I hold shift down and click on the text as well, that will select both items. And then here I have the ability to line up their vertical centers. Once you've designed your caption or title, to apply this you simply shut down the title editor. The title itself will then appear as a new item in your project. It looks like a graphic. It's slightly different in that if I double click on it, it will open the title editor back up again. And then it's just a case of dropping this onto the timeline itself. Now, I would usually want to animate the title or caption on and off in some way, so fade it up, fade it down. Because of the nature of this one, a wipe often looks quite good. So I'm going to go into my Effects tab and go into Video Transitions. Let's go into Wipe. Let's pick up a standard wipe, and I'm going to drop a wipe on both ends of the title and then speed them up slightly. So double click on them, type in a new duration. Let's make them both 12 frames long, and then let's have a look at that. If at any point I want to further amend the title, all I need to do is double click on it, open it back up again, and I can do that from the timeline or the project window. It's effectively the same thing. Select what I want to change. Let's maybe change the color of the text down here, and then close the title down again, and that will just update instantly on your timeline. With something like a lower third, it's going to be very common to want to make variations of your title, and there's a few different ways we can approach this. First of all, if I open the title back up by double clicking on it, there is a button in the top left hand corner here that allows you to create a new title based on the current title. If I click on that, there we go, I can make a new title. So let's call it Joe Blogs lower third. Click OK, and then I just amend the title. And then close it down again, and that gives me an alternative version which I can then drop onto my timeline. Alternatively, I can select my title in the project window and duplicate it. So if I right click on it, choose duplicate, or use Command D as a shortcut, that creates a new version which I can then open up, and again I can just amend the title. Close the title editor down, and again drop that onto my timeline. If I wanted to rename the title in my project, all I've got to do is rename it like I would any other clip by selecting it, clicking on it twice or hitting enter, and then rename it. However, I think the best way of doing this is actually to copy the title on your timeline itself. You can do this by selecting it, holding your Alt key down on your keyboard, and drag the title to its new location. This takes any transitions that you've got applied on it with it, and also gives you a duplicate of the title, both on the timeline and also in the project. Obviously I can just rename this again. And I can select it here, double click, and then make my amendments. And close that down again, and that will then have the wipe on and wipe off I put on the other title.